I can't sit here and say he doesn't deserve to be in.
He does.
John McDermott, had a call from Edu last week to say that Ben didn't want to be considered for England squads at this time. For me, that's a great shame. He's a player I really like. He's a player that we took to the Euros when he was at Brighton. A player that we took to the World Cup.
Didn't play.
I spoke to him post-Qatar because I was keen to pick him, and there was clearly reticence on his side. I don't know fully why that is, but...
So that's the point, isn't it? There's reticence, but I don't know fully. Well, you would have had the conversation. I mean, how does a conversation like that go? You know, I don't feel like, I'm not sure I want to play. Oh, okay, then. What's the first question you ask somebody who says they're not sure they want to represent their country? What are you talking about? No, you're coming.
But I have to respect that.
No, you don't.
Leave the door open for him because he's a good player.
I want to push him through the bloody door. Never mind leaving it open.
But he's not available to us.
He is. You just need to talk him into it.
So the only other thing I would say is there is no issue between us at all.
Well, there clearly is, isn't there? There must be, because he doesn't want to play for his country in the European Championship. I mean, there was an issue there. He's not just booked a holiday and doesn't want to, lose the deposit. It's not, it's not a wedding he has to go to. I mean, most people would forgive that, wouldn't they? No, there is a reason, and there is an animosity there, because unless he's fallen out with one of the players, we all have read the same stories that he's fallen out with Steve Holland, that Steve Holland lambasted him in front of the players. He obviously didn't feel wanted in that setup and stormed off. Maybe he shouldn't have, maybe he should have. I'm not here to tell Ben White how to live his life, but there's clearly a problem.
And also should say there's never any issue with Steve Holland, because that has been sort of mentioned in articles, and I don't like that,
Well, of course you don't like that. Well, tell us the truth then. Tell us the truth, and then you don't have to like it or dislike it. This is just the level of nonsense that you find most frustrating. I just want to say I have no idea why Ben White isn't going to play for England, but I definitely know it's not because of Steve Holland. Make that make sense. For a minute in your head, make that make sense. I absolutely know it's not because he fell out with Steve Holland, but I don't know why it is. Knowing why it definitely isn't would give you a clue as to what it definitely was. I mean, has Ben White said, look, it's definitely not Steve Holland, and then what did you say? Okay, well, don't tell me what it actually is. I'm just going to go and do a press conference to the world's media.
People can talk about me.
They do.
And say I have to accept that things get said.
Yes, they do. Mostly that you're not quite good enough to be the England manager.
For whatever reason in this role, you have to almost stomach that.
But you do if you're not quite good enough.
For a key member of my coaching team.
Well, then don't mention him. Don't bring his name up. You're the one. I wouldn't know who Steve Holland was, to be honest with you.
Ben is unavailable for selection.
He's just unavailable.
Just to follow up on that, Gareth, if he was to make himself available, is the door closed? Is it still open for him to make the Euro squad?
100% just said, I want that door wide open. He would be in this squad, but he's not available to us, and so I have to focus on those that can help us.
Yeah, this is the kind of...
Joe Gomez is back in the England squad for the first time.
This is the kind of problem I have. If you're not inspiring enough to get somebody to play for England, what are his team talks like? I mean, is he this wet in team talks? Maybe that's what we need. We've got players right now where you look at it and with the envy of European football, whether you like Harry Kane or not as an ex-Spurs player, come on. Hasn't his goal tally at Bayern, a country where he didn't know the language and has just gone into a team that's riven with problems and he's still scoring? I mean, obviously having a top goal scorer doesn't necessarily guarantee you silverware. I'm making a pointed comment to all those people who want Ivan Toney at Arsenal, but we've got Harry Kane up front. We've got Ollie Watkins is in great form behind him. And then Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice. I mean, this is a great forward midfield, a forward-thinking midfield with steel and determination in there. We do have some problems at the back, but if Luke Shaw's fit, hopefully. We have Chilwell, who looks like he could do a job. And you usually go into these tournaments without necessarily having your best. The players that go into them, perhaps unfancied, are the ones that tend to really, end up doing really well. But I think that this whole press conference tells us so little on the face of it, but tells us so much, because you can't say, I know it's definitely not Steve Holland he's fallen out with. The Athletic have been talking about this consistently, and they have put the blame squarely at the feet of the fallout between them. I guess we're going to have to wait until people do their autobiographies before we're 100% sure. But I'm 100% sure already that Gareth Southgate must know why Ben White's not in. But anyway.